Welcome everybody to SUSE QE Tools Workshop of today. Today the topic will be about sporadic failures in our automated tests. And Anna, you wanted to present some examples, so maybe you have some cases which can, which other people can relate to, and then afterwards we can talk about how to fix issues or how to introduce sporadic failures if people like to do that. So.
Yeah, thanks, Oliver. Actually, my logic for the today conversation is to share some of my examples. I am sure that there are more categories than the ones that I will present, let's say, today. And of course, I'm really also interested in discussing and taking also your input for the different categories on how can we solve them, how can we coordinate on these categories, and probably have some specific solutions for these cases. So I will start. I will share my screen. I will just have some progress tickets, some open QA tests. That
Sounds good.
So give me one moment here, and I will not this. Sorry. You can see my rocket chat now.
Yep, one browser window.
But I didn't want to share this, so...
It was a different browser window.
Yeah, but I cannot find it now. Just give me one moment. Okay. Now you can see... Can you see my different tabs?
Yes, this looks good. I see a progress ticket with multiple.
Perfect. Nice. Cool. So...
I suggest, can you zoom in a bit, like press Control key, mouse wheel up?
Yes,
like 120%
sure.
maybe, or yeah.
Yeah.
Not too much. 140 is.
That was too much. Okay. 140.
This looks good.
Perfect. Yeah. I totally forgot about this. Totally forgot to ask about zooming. You're correct. My first category, let's say, starts from the fact that for the last 3 weeks, I started doing an OpenQA review in O3 lib 15.3 updates, where we run there some maintenance tests. And something that I have observed there is that per day, let's say if we have 5 builds that they run, I see a random test that fails, and usually this test will, or in some cases it will fail again, in some other cases it will not fail again, but in all of the cases when I restart, and of course it's not a bug and not a test issue, the test will run fine. So I felt that I don't know if it is the right way to every day go through the tests, restart this one that are failing, retake which are passing, which are not, and go them through to see if it is a test issue or a bug, etc. So, for example, for this case, I had opened these tickets that I would see a sporadic failure. Okay, perfect. And so yeah, it was in updates package key. I could see different failures, and actually I would see the test failing in different places, let's say, of the code of the updates package key. For example, in the one case, it was failing in these states that it seemed that the updates were installed, but it was stuck somewhere, or here while the updates were being updated and installing, and here at some point we had a stale screen, let's say. So I opened this ticket, and I can say that every time I would restart this test, they would pass. But I thought that it would be a better idea to just investigate it a little bit further. I have here the other similar issues, and George took this ticket. He said he ran this test 20 times with a period of 12 plus hours. And here, as he also says, there were no failures. He didn't manage to reproduce it at all. So this is one thing that I have seen. It's I don't know if already there is a solution on because in general, I'm not an OpenQA reviewer, so I'm not very 100% familiar with the processes and the tools that are being used. But I have the feeling that it is also being faced in other reviews, like in OSD and in O3 and Tumbleweed. So I don't want, I don't know if you would like to go from category to category and stop there, have some discussion and go further.
I would try to use the
Yeah.
individual examples. So yeah, maybe there are opinions and thoughts on the one example which Anna shared for now.
Yeah, so if anybody has to share inputs, thoughts, ideas for this case, feel free. And in other case, I can, yeah, James, sure.
I have a thought.
Yes.
James just joined, so I have a thought here, which is certainly it's a good approach to say, well, if there's an issue and we are already identified that it's sporadic, okay, then the solution is certainly not to say a single one passed, so now it's all good, right? So it's certainly a good approach to say we do gather some statistics. On the wiki of OpenQA tests, so on the progress project that you share here, there's a wiki where I liked to link to a section which is called Statistical Investigation. And that one mentions a command how you can get another nice overview when you schedule like 100 jobs for an experiment, and then you see the overview box, the test overview query of OpenQA, which can then tell you how many passed, how many failed, and you can check if it failed for the same reason. Many people also use the next and previous list. You can also do that for a quick overview. The important difference here, I mean, it was mentioned in the ticket over the course of 12 plus hours, but Anna, you already explained kind of, you see these failures, and whenever you re-trigger them at a later time, like during the day, then they are very, very likely to pass, right?
Yes.
So my feeling in that case is, and this is actually what we see in many tests, is that there's a strong reliance on network and a heavy load on network communication. In some cases, this is causing problems and timeouts. And in other cases, like here, it looks like, well, the updates were just not finished, right? So it was like in the process of doing something, but not yet done. So it would just take very, very long comparably. So this is why you cannot reproduce it when you run it during the day, because these tests had been scheduled in a bunch, like 400 jobs at more or less in parallel at the same time. And when you reschedule them, it's more likely a time when there's less network traffic, because the main bunch of tests is finished. You just schedule individual ones, and this is why you're less likely to reproduce the error, which is related to network. I'm only not, I think we can do better with the resolution, because I think it was correctly identified that the failure is related to the infrastructure, so not the test code itself, but that it's just takes longer and is slow to install stuff, and that can even fail with some kind of timeouts. But what I suggest as a suggestion is to try to improve the test by having some kind of internal retrying. At least give it a longer time when there's heavy network traffic involved.
Yeah, that really is my thought on this. And actually, in the next categories, I have one that it is, you know, timeout issues like the one, for example, that also, in my case, my thought is to fix the time in these areas that it fails, that we see that sporadically fails, do a big amount of tests, take probably the average number, and keep this as a time to wait. But I wanted to have this in a different place because this was failing in different places. So it was a specific category from its own. So
Exactly, yeah.
yeah. Okay, cool. So I think I can go ahead and I, okay. Oh, yes. Next category is in general multi-machine tests. And in my case, I have faced two basic issues, let's say. The first one, and it was also in my test, that's why I realized it, it was a test issue, like for example in this case, there are two tests that run parallel, and server and client, they're communicating together, and from time to time it was failing, and in that case I had to go through the test. Probably I have somewhere here my PR. Okay, I will not go through the PR, but I will say that in the end, let's see here in description, at some point the server and client were cleaning their directories, removing stuff, and then another set of tests was starting. And I realized that there was not a barrier to check when they do finish and when we can go ahead. And impressive, when I was doing my verification runs, I couldn't see it. When it was running all the times, it was green, etc. And when it ran in OSD and O3, then it was visible. So in this case, for example, it was a clear test issue. It was solved, and then no issue again there. But I don't have, I have here one. Yeah, but in this case that I have seen, no, it's not this case. I don't have it open here, but there can be cases, really rare, that the test fails because of the timeout of the communication between the server and the client. So this case, I can say that it is an infrastructure issue. And I can see also other cases of multi-machine jobs that fail because of this, and then when you restart them, then everything is green and etc. So for this case, I mean, I haven't investigated it any further with the infrastructure issue. I don't know if you have also faced some similar situation or a race condition, I'd say, yeah. Yeah, feel free to share also your thoughts. I don't know, Alvaro, if...
Yeah, in your pull request, I mean, you clearly introduced proper synchronization methods. This is a general challenge in multi-threaded programming, and this is just what we have here, right? Pavel?
Yeah, exactly.
Pavel would like to speak?
Yeah, hello. For example, I noticed that if you have two machines and you copy something from one to the other, you should not immediately go and use it on the other, because it may, I don't know, it may take some time to synchronize in the file system or something. I just noticed that time to time, also very sporadically, it fails. So it's good to copy something, but then instead of immediately using it, just to do one or two other commands, so you are like sure that all is synced and settled, and then it's usually working. But yeah, also Sunday I noticed.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Okay, if there are any other points on the multi-machine case, I can go further.
Yeah, so maybe is there someone else who has like, and multi-machine tests are certainly, I would say, the next level of challenge. If if one cannot get like single machine test stable, then there's no hope in introducing that into a stable multi-machine cluster. And I think there are more experienced people around here. So yeah, Alvaro, go on. You have experience with multi-machine tests. Tell us.
Alvaro, we cannot hear you.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yep.
Now, yes.
And you know what, Oliver? I have to revert the setting I did yesterday.
Okay.
Okay, now.
You toggle the microphones around. I see.
Yeah, it's that's very weird.
Okay.
Okay, so yes, what I was saying is that that we have seen something similar in HA tests. What you are describing, Anna, it seems to be if you were able to fix this by with this pull request by creating a couple of more barriers, I would say that you were in the presence of a race condition. Basically, you're working around the race condition with further synchronization. But even in those cases, we've seen still in multi-machine tests sporadic failures that have to do with either the network failing or one ticket I have open currently where one of the system under test simply restarts without we expecting it. So there are still some issues that uh, we are facing that are not necessarily fixable through the test code, and I mean workarounds or more barriers and more synchronization. So yeah, just wanted to point that out. I think we are approaching the threshold in this test where we are basically thinking on just retriggering to be able to have a passing test, because sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And Oliver is helping us with automatic review and automatic restart in these cases.
Until the real issue could be fixed, because I still have the expectation that this is feasible.
Yeah,
but certainly there can be cases where, let's say, it's not yet clear if something is really a problem from the test design perspective or if it's something underlying. General suggestion by me, this is why we all come together among all the different teams, among the people that know about the tests, that know about the product, that know about the infrastructure, that we say, as long there is an issue, there is an issue. And, don't call it solved because you'd say, like, it's infrastructure, we can't fix it or anything. I guess in most cases, it's actually not an infrastructure issue. And you would need to fix it yourself. If you need help and support, sure, this is why we are there. It could be that there are cases which are real infrastructure issues, but then, keep the ticket open, assign it to someone else, ask someone for help. Okay, back to Anna.
Yeah, thanks also to Alvaro. I mean, I hadn't faced these cases, like, for example, having the machine restarting through the test in multi-machine. So that's pretty interesting as a case. Do you have also some tickets open, I imagine, for this, right?
Yes.
Could you share it also in the chat?
Yeah, I'm going to look for it.
Okay, thanks. Perfect. Okay. Alvaro before said that the machine automatically, let's say, restarts during the test, but on the other hand, I have seen also this sporadic issue. More than sporadic, it's a big, there is a big, let's say, range of sporadic tests, which in some cases, the machine has to shut down and check it, etc. But machine didn't shut down. And I have opened this ticket like 5 months ago. And then while we had a discussion about this in our squad, I realized that there were much more tickets open like this. So, but yeah, what I again on this, I haven't done a big investigation, but what I have realized from the power action utils, that it is the lib that we take there, from there, that is written the shutdown function, power off, sorry. I have seen that also there, the times are defined, let's say, in a different way, in a different combination of machines with different DEs. So first of all, with the first glimpse, this in general, this doesn't seem very right to me. So I remember that the default timeout is that it gives like 60 seconds in order to be able for the machine to shut down, and then there in some other cases that this timeout is multiplied by 4, 3, 5, etc. But still, this issue exists. It exists in many places. I feel again that probably the reviewers have to restart the test. It will work, it will not work. So this is, I feel that it is not yet solved. My totally rough idea here is to probably I know that we're trying to be really strict in the timeouts for the test in order to be able to, a lot of tests are running, so we don't have, let's say, a lot of space to give big timeouts in our tests. But for this specific case, I think that it could be like a little more bit investigated, do a lot of runs with the different combinations of machines and DEs, and probably from there find the average timeout that can be, and not have a code with default timeout is 60 seconds and then different timeout for its machines. But it's just my rough thought. I would really like to hear also your thoughts on this. I don't know if you have seen it frequently.
Okay, opinions, experiences from others? I can share something here. A simple suggestion is look for other tickets which have title like the word shutdown in the name. Okay, I guess you will find about 10 tickets, maybe some of them resolved, rejected, but still worth to read because it's not a new issue. And okay, and one more thing. What we do is we run regression tests, okay? And regression tests, they're not there to check what we would like the system to behave like, but to check that it still behaves as in before, okay? So if our experience is, as you said, you gather the mean time of shutdown that it takes, and then you apply the statistics, so not the mean value, but more like the long tail of like 99% of the cases, maybe 99.9% of the cases, plus some additional threshold. And let's assume that the number turns up to be, we can only guarantee that the system shuts down within 40 minutes, which is, crazy long, but so be it. So then it will be 40 minutes for the time being. And then you can try, so this is what you put into tests. So the test would only fail if system really takes longer than 40 minutes to shut down, or like virtually never shuts down. And while that is running in tests, you can still, and you should investigate, like, so what is causing the system to not shut down, or, not shut down within that time in some cases, or not shut down within 10 minutes maybe, Identify that. And also what we have as possibility is to extend what a test can do itself, for example, in post-fail hooks. There are already some things in to analyze with systemd the trace of the different services that are maybe already shut down, and if it's already, they're also always hanging on some and such. Okay?
Yeah. Sure, but I feel that the 40 minutes will be really edge cases. They will not be included. I mean, the edge cases, either like out of a big number in the mean value, it will be not much effect. I will not expect to see 40 minutes putting in the test of the shutdown. If I understood correctly about saying this with the edge case, because indeed in these cases when the shutdowns take 40 minutes, there is something to look, and it will not be an issue from the test side, in my opinion. But yeah, in general, yeah, I agree that these are good approaches to follow this ticket. And yeah, as I said before, there are many tickets for this, and they have probably to link together. So, and there are still a lot of them that they are open, not just rejected. They're open exactly like, I don't know if it is in the same test.
Oh, so you already know. Okay, good.
Yeah. It's I said before that we had a discussion about this in our daily call, and by checking, we saw that there are like a lot of them open. So yeah, but if there are no other comments, I can go ahead. What's this here? Okay. I think, yeah, this is a last one category that I have picked and I have seen. For example, for here, I saw that there are really a lot of tickets related here. This progress ticket is an old issue. I have also seen it. It's about spelling mistakes. I think all of us have seen it. It's like, let's say, yeah, one more here. Test failed in repos ZZZ zipper command not found. So it seems that the Z was written many times, or here, hello world is in a wrong way typed, etc. So yeah, this is one more thing that it is seen. Probably, I don't know. I really don't remember exactly. I think that also this case, in most of the cases that the tickets are opened, there is a workaround for these specific cases. I don't know if it could be another solution, generic, or just a matter of retry, that I feel that it is also most of the workarounds would work. But yeah, that's it. I don't know. Again, opinion, thoughts. Also, Alvaro is saying I've seen that as well. Also, missing characters.
Yeah, I've seen that like as if when it's typing, as if some of the keys do not reach the suit, and then of course if the command is not correctly written, you can have a syntax error in the shell, or simply that the serial was typed incompletely, so the next command, which is await serial, is going to fail to get the return code, and it basically shows you a failure as a timeout, even though it was not a timeout.
Yeah. And have you found a way to deal with it for now, like a workaround? Or
I know that the tools team did in the past. I think it's a year ago or something like that. Some improvements to catch these type of errors and to try to avoid them. I don't remember the details, but I know that it's still happening from time to time, and currently no idea what's the issue. This is not happening to me in the OpenQA instances in OSD or O3, but it's happening in another OpenQA instance that's in a fairly close network. So I haven't been able to link those cases in a progress ticket, but
Let's say
I'm keeping an eye.
roughly 4 years ago, there was a potential problem in how we use VNC. That had been fixed since at least 3 years ago. Okay? So what is missing is, with very high probability, always the problem that you have under control from the side of tests. It can still be multifold. It could be that the system under test, the VM where you run the test, is just heavily loaded and impacted by starting some services and before starting applications. And then you shared this one example with LibreOffice Writer. This is in a graphical environment. Additionally, you have background spell checking in LibreOffice. This may be what we want to test there, but all of this can lead to problems. For example, we also have a limitation in KRunner, this KRunner dialog in KDE. This is, it cannot ensure correct typing above a certain speed, okay? But this is only in graphical environments. If you see that in a terminal or in a shell, then it's a different issue. Then it could be background services that were started before, which are bogging down the system. That was actually more severe in lib42, for example, when there were real more kernel issues related, for example, to ButterFS and the cleanup services. And these are actually issues that were seen by OpenQA, but were also seen by users. Okay, so real humans, people reporting, and they're still reporting about issues that they say system locks up, the clock doesn't move, I type something and nothing is there, and after some seconds either the characters appear or they're missing in between. So call that product issue, but it's known issues, okay? And then you need to distinguish from new issues. Don't accept that, yeah, there are typing issues and I need to re-trigger tests manually. This is the worst that you can do. There are many ways how one can do better. You shared this one example. Maybe the right approach is to say, well, we just have to accept in LibreOffice sometimes the shift key doesn't work. So, okay, make the needle more robust, more resilient to accept a much lower match ratio because, we give up. Could be done, right? And in other cases, yeah, do some internal retrying. If you know that in a certain step, it's more likely that an issue appears, to internal retrying. And of course, there's a proper serial terminals. If you want to avoid typing something over VNC, use a serial terminal when you can. This is much more reliable or consistent.
Yeah, nice. Thank you, Alvaro and Oliver, for jumping in also in this category. For me, I didn't want to put much more. I wanted to share this. I believe everyone can also share their experiences. I wanted to say that one command that I use in these workarounds is the script retry. It's really useful for. I have managed to, let's say, until it is something 100% solved by the test or the bug, etc. Infrastructure, it is a really good function, and I think it makes also the life easier for the review. So yeah, Pavel.
Yeah, I actually shared the same, Anna, and I wanted to ask maybe the others or or Oliver at least about the script retry, because I remember that when I started to use OpenQA like 3 years ago, uh, this thing was not really here, and then I was introduced to this small script retry function written by Martin Kravets, and I started to use it, and then other people joined, and other people joined, and now I see that the script retry is used quite widely. So, is it good to use this, or what, guys, do you think about the script retry? Because yeah, I also find it like very useful, but still, it's not that clear that you're trying something over and over and over, but maybe, I don't know. What guys do you think about it?
Good question. George?
Yeah, so on this, sometimes the workflow, so when we do verification runs, we never really, I'm not speaking about everyone now, but I know from the people I know that we never really rely on only one verification run. We usually do 3 or 5 to have a minimal normal curve, and then you usually find that one will fail. Or usually, not usually, but if it's a sporadic issue or something, you will find that it fails in one of those runs, but on the other ones. And then this is an ideal case for the script retry, because then you strengthen your test on that weak point. And on this, I think it is very valuable, because we know that this weak point needs strengthening. It will fail 1 out of X times. So yes, it has value for me based on this workflow.
Actually taking a look into the documentation, the method header for script retry, it gives one very good example, which is ping, a ping command, okay? Where it says ping C1, so it's only sending a single ping, but you retry that command 5 times. Why? Because there's network involved. When there's network involved, it may fail. For example, non-interactive zipper is another example which does not do internal retries, same as the interactive version of zipper does. So in that case, it involves network again, retry helps. I would say, so Pavel, thank you for the question. I think it's not a good choice, like in general, okay? It's only a choice for what George mentioned as this exceptional corner issues, this one areas where we say this is a critical section where it makes sense to do retry, but not because you see problems and you don't know what they are, but because you understood that there are issues that are out of your control, which could lead to a failure, and you don't want to fail the test. Like ping, like zipper fails to install because of a connection timeout. What would you do as a human? You would retry, okay? Okay, as a human, you also retry because you mistype your password and you say, like, maybe I typed it wrong. I tried again 5 times. But, trust OpenQA that it should consistently write a password. If it cannot consistently write a password, it's a different problem. Don't accept a sporadic issue and say, like, oh, okay, well, just retry. I click on a button, it doesn't work. Let's click 5 times. Not a good choice in that case.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
Yeah, but certainly for something like retrying and such, there are more opinions and more experiences from others.
Can you hear me?
You're a bit noisy, maybe a bit high volume.
Yes.
But
First of all, about the last issue that Anna presented, it's input-output, right? And there's also you can, for bootloader, for example, for the parameters, we decrease the speed of input, which usually solve this kind of typos. Also, sometimes you need some experience. There is an issue on me that solved from this pull request that the test, despite it was working, it took like an hour or something, and after this pull request it took like 5 minutes. And yeah, I think from everything that Anna presented, I didn't see code, so my constant thinking was like that you need to check the code, and sometimes you need to experience like this one that Fabian solved. And the timeout is not a solution usually, because you can hide some other problems on the system or the platform and stuff. That's all.
I try to hear. I don't know if you Oliver understood everything. Sorry, Yanis, I lost some parts because you were a bit noisy.
So one point was about VNC typing limit.
Okay.
Yes, there is a variable which controls how fast as the maximum characters are sent over VNC. And it's obvious, if that setting is there, people will use it, okay? But you should keep in mind that always when you're applying some things, what are the benefits and what are the drawbacks? Yes, that often there's nothing for free. And then often I see that people sprinkle in VNC typing limit, select a low value, mean very, very slow typing in general for the complete test. And then they are happy because it seems to make tests stable. Certainly they fail less. They take ages to execute, and there's like really hardcore hammer, which is meant for investigation and maybe meant to, to work around problems when you have a really slow machine as OpenQA worker. And we should not have any slow machine that needs this in our O3 infrastructure nor OSD infrastructure. So I see no use for VNC typing limit within our productive tests except for investigation. Pavel?
Yeah, well, I generally agree. Well, there are, in my opinion, some exceptions, like, for example, when we are using IPMI with the bare metal, then yeah, this is very unstable environment, and but I consider this part already as pretty stable. I just wanted to add that I think that as we are in general shifting more to the server applications and in my opinion less desktop, I'm not saying that we should drop the desktop or something, or and of course the VNC is good, for example, for the graphical installation testing. But otherwise, at least in my workflow, the 99 or the 95% are console tests. So I really consider VNC as something I don't use that much anymore, as pretty much everything is terminal and the serial console is just better.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Other
also.
opinions and experiences?
I want to ask something not very related to these things. Like, can you hear me again?
Partly.
Yeah, sorry. Can you, do you propose any change in the design of the test? Like do them smaller or break them down and use some other technique?
I don't have, at least on my side, I don't have a specific proposal, and the way that I am handling these different cases is different. Let's say in each case, do you have I don't know, like multi-machine test or which kind of failure? Because I can say that for each case, it will be a different way of handling it. What I do first, for example, is to check the test and find some holes there. If there are any, try to investigate a bit further. I don't know, analyze the root cause. I don't feel that we can have a specific technique for writing the test for all these cases. And of course, we have seen also that there can be the edge cases that we have to use like the script retry that we said before, that we cannot use it every time, but there can be times also that you will use it. I don't know if yeah, I don't answer your question, but this is the way that I look when I take a ticket and it has a sporadic failure. I will have to. I don't have some specific things that I have to see in the code. I take it as a different case each time, and then try to deal with it.
For example, is it better to split units in different modules or have one big module for some test?
In
Can
my
you
opinion,
repeat?
if I can, sorry, I did not raise my hand. In my opinion, it's better to have multiple smaller modules and well commented and well separated, because in some tests we have it's like uh, two screens of boxes, and it's all console test, and it's really it's hard to orient in. So yeah, I would say smaller modules, well separated and well documented, and yeah, because yeah, I mean, it's in my opinion, it's still pretty visible that the OpenQA was firstly used for those VNC tests, but it's harder to, it's already not that easy to orient within the console outputs, at least in my opinion. So smaller modules separated.
Right, agreed. Good suggestion. George?
Yeah, so, well, I agree with Pavel. I think the point, sporadic issues mean that at some point we have no more control over them from the Perl side or the whichever side we take it, we don't have control over them, so they cannot really be tackled. So I think when Yanni, you asked about design, maybe the question is not the how to tackle them, but how to better debug them. And to this, I agree with Pavel. To better to make a test more investigatable. Yeah, splitting it into smaller modules sure helps.
Right, that's a good point. Design tests so that they are easier to debug when they fail, because eventually they will.
Yeah, I agree. I just wanted to be short and maybe give thoughts about when it should be the alternative, like think about a more unified module for some cases if solve something. Yeah, okay, good.
And with all that in mind, I think this is an important part which can be covered in reviewing. Okay, so we all do peer review of the test code contributions, and so what anyone reviewing should then keep in mind is how could this change lead to sporadic issues. Okay, so really challenge that in the code. Think about if it's a multi-machine test, like, is it maybe, all tests look fine, all is green, but maybe still there's some synchronization issues which are about to happen. Think about the worst case, like it all looks fine now when you schedule the test, but what happens if the test is scheduled while 1,000 others are running and also trying to access the infrastructure? Are there any points where maybe the timeouts are way too restrictive and way too optimistic? Is the design too optimistic in some cases? And maybe even ask for multiple verification runs to say, I'm not sure if this is really stable. Could you use this section from the wiki page about statistical investigation? Run it 10 times. Why not? That's much cheaper than needing to handling a sporadically failing issue when it's in production. Okay. Don't be afraid to use the existing resources that we have for deep testing. So Anna, how do you see that? Keeping some of these ideas or suggestions in mind, would that make your job easier in case you see some issues coming up in the future?
Yeah, surely. That's and actually that's why I wanted also to have a discussion, because at least on my side I don't feel that I am not an expert on this at all, and I'm still trying to get some knowledge, or for example the last point that Pavel mentioned about the how the design should be in order to avoid the sporadic failures. This is, I think, the number one. It helps, like, everyone, the way that you write the code, the way that you have it split, and everybody will then go read it and solve it, like, easier than just go through one module that has everything dropped there. So yeah, this is a good first step. I surely. And one more thing that I wanted also to identify here is that, and I think that the answer would be yes, if it is okay to open all the time like tickets for this sporadic, this and this, and go and investigate test by test and distinguish, see, like, more thoroughly, like the first example that I saw about the packet kit thing, to try to understand by just assigning tickets. Somebody would really look at it and take the time to see if it is a test issue, if it is a bug, or whatever. So from the discussion, the answer that I get is, yeah, this for the reviewers, and if also I see something, try to report it, open a progress ticket, or either on my own, go ahead directly and investigate it.
All right, thank you. Any other last questions or opinions, experiences, sharing, ideas for the future?
Can I have so my question is, do we take from this workshop that we are encouraged to not dismiss sporadic failures as such and then actively try to fix them? This is, I'm trying to, yeah, right? Okay.
Definitely. I mean, if you would have asked me, I would have always told you, never accept sporadic issues, okay? You should never accept the need to sporadically retrigger any issues unless you know that a fix is being worked on. Or, if the network is out, tests fail, then it's like, okay, the network was out. I know that. This is why machines couldn't access the network. I can retrigger after the issue is fixed. If you see a test failing and you say, I don't know the reason, don't accept that. You can create a ticket and say, I'm trying to see if it's reproducible by retriggering. You shouldn't need that because OpenK Investigate jobs should already tell you if it's reproducible. But if you feel the need like that, yeah, do that. But please make sure that the issue is recorded somewhere in a ticket. Maybe already existing, maybe a new one.
Sure, makes sense.
So it brings me to the last question to Anna. So Anna, you mentioned the very first example, and you came back to that about update package kit GPK. And now I need to challenge George. So George said, I tested, it was all good. I'm calling that resolved because I assume the issue is fixed and will not reappear. So will you reopen the ticket?
So there is a deeper investigation here than what is apparent in the comments. The fact that it is not reproducible is one thing. The fact that on my machine, throughout a period of multiple runs consecutive, it didn't appear also is one thing. But also the thing is that this test is a sporadic failure of the module. It's not a sporadic issue. So the module does fail in multiple areas. I took it as part of investigating, okay, let's me at least fix one of those, but those don't appear. So as I say, everyone is welcome once they become prominent, because you will see that now they're not that prominent. At some point in time they were. Once they become prominent, everyone is welcome to tackle it, but I didn't find a way how to tackle. That wasn't the issue to even fix. So that's a bummer for me because I did want to tackle it.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So, Anna, thanks a lot. The last word goes to you. Is there anything that you would like to add to end this workshop session today?
Thank you also all the people that first of all that for you for inviting me for this Friday session and for the people that joined the conversation. I don't have much to say. It was really a really nice discussion. I hope that also for let's say have less issues with sporadic failures. Try to deal with them. I mean, either way, in our codes, for example, we have brought it, let's say, in our retros, and in order to be able to gather them all together, try and find a deeper solution in persistent issues, like for the test machine didn't shut down. So yeah, it's always good to improve the processes, the tests, and everything. And again, thank you.
Oh, thank you.